Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs, and we're opening up right into today's show as I have a surprise guest for Sam and a surprise to all of our great listeners and viewers as well. Our guest can be heard weekday mornings from 7 to 10 on ESPN 1000. You can watch him at his own YouTube channel, The Recap, and he is a diehard Cubs fan. We have a lot to talk with him about. And a lot of our listeners have been asking for this crossover. So please welcome to the show, David Kaplan. Cap, what's up?
Hey, Matt and Sam. What a pleasure to be on with you two guys. We good?
Let me tell you something. We could have any player in the world on for the Cubs. This is the best guest because this is somebody that tells it like it is, holds people accountable, and that's what we do on this show, and I appreciate your work, Cap.
Appreciate the kind words. I was telling Matt before you came on, like I have 3 or 4 people that I bookmark on my Twitter feed. They have their own column, and you're one of them.
That's awesome. I appreciate it.
Because I'll be watching the games. I'm here in our YouTube studio, and I'll either be here, I'll be at the house, I'll be wherever. And I'm like, I got to see what my boy Sam is saying on Twitter because you know me. I get myself in trouble because I'm honest.
Me too.
And
Me
I
too.
speak from the heart because who I'm speaking for is not the head coach of the Bears or the manager of the Cubs or whoever it is. It's everyone who says, I am going to honor you by giving you time on my channel, on my radio preset, on my computer, on your YouTube, whatever it is. That's who I'm loyal to because I'm speaking for them. They don't get the access that I get. It's not, well, I got to say this because I want the owner to like me. Sorry, I'm going to be honest. And that's just the way I operate.
No, and it's, we'll talk about the Cubs and stuff. I'll end it here, Matt. I don't want to get too mushy about it, but seriously, it's been a big inspiration for me because I watched you all the way back when you used to do pre and post for the Cubs, and it's always been super honest, super transparent. Even today, I'm off work this week. I made sure to get up for the interview. Like it's great. It's great work, and it's important because in this day and age, there's just a lot of coddling, and as Kikuchi signs with the Angels, we miss out on another pitcher.
All right, let's not treat him like he's a 28-year-old Justin Verlander.
Yeah, no, I know.
He's Yusei Kikuchi.
Matt, let's get into this.
So I have a few things for you, Cap, and I also have one thing that I want both of you to tag team as well. But Sam, I'll let you start and ask Cap to lead us off.
So I guess my first question would be, and it's a cliche, but like, where are you at right now, emotionally, confident wise with this team? Because I just did a solo show for Friday, and I talked about how the messaging we're getting from these guys and in terms of what they're doing, it doesn't feel like this must-win playoff season or Jed's out the door. It feels very calculated. Where are you at to begin with? Like, how confident are you? Frustrated? Where are you at with the Cubs, right? I know you're in Bears mode, but
yeah, I'm always. If you said to me, guess what team courses through your veins? I love all Chicago sports. I've obviously picked my side when I came out of the womb that I'm a Cubs guy. My brother grew up a Sox guy. But I don't root against them. That's silly. They're a Chicago team.
Agreed.
But if the Cubs are playing the White Sox, I hope it's 74-0 and we embarrass them. Because that's the rivalry that I grew up a part of.
Sure.
But beyond that, my business partner's a Sox fan. Ryan McGuffey, who hosts a Sox podcast for us. Yeah, I don't wish them ill will. But the Cubs, more than the Bears, more than Michael Jordan, the Cubs is what courses through my veins. I truly believe they're going to have a really good season next year. I do. I think they're in a healthy place. They don't have a lot of bad contracts on the books. I think they're in a good place. My problem with the Cubs is not Jed. I want Tom Ricketts. I'd like one owner in our town to go, I don't care how much it costs. I want to win a freaking championship. Like I have this audio that I saved of Joe Lacob. We have it at the radio station. The owner of Golden State. And he said, look, I made my money. I got into this because I want to win championships. I don't care what the rules are. I'm going to demand my people contend for championships, or I'll find someone who will. The owner of the Phillies a few weeks ago, John Middleton, spent insane money and they got knocked out. That's going to happen in the postseason. I get it. And they said, well, you got a new plane when Bryce Harper said he didn't like the plane you had. You got a hibachi chef when Kyle Schwarber said, I want a hibachi chef at home games. And he said, Trey Turner wanted something else. And he goes, if it makes sense, I'm going to spend it. And the reporter said, your great-great-grandkids aren't going to have anything left the way you're spending. And he goes, well, guess what? I'm not going to know them. Sorry, I'm trying to win. Do we have one owner in town? And I think Tom Ricketts rebuilt Wrigley. They're good neighbors. They won a World Series. All of that is true, and he's a really good person. Really good. People that don't get to know him have this image of what he is. That's a really good family. That said, I don't think they push their chips all in and go, Jed, here's the checkbook. Go win a freaking title again. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear, well, declining revenues in the TV space and, all that stuff I don't want to hear.
So I agree with everything you said. And that's my follow-up, Matt, is that, so I think Tom is...
Who's the source of that?
Yeah, so I think Tom is the best owner in the city, which just isn't saying much at all. I don't want to. If the word McCaskey gets brought up on this show, I'm gonna see myself out.
Right.
But that was the only follow up question I really wanted to ask you, because I know and are closer to it more than we are. Is there a specific reason that they are so calculated with the first luxury tax? Is it marquee stuff? Is it from COVID, or do you just believe he's just kind of, hey, this is what it's going to be. We're going to be top 7, top 8. That's my limit.
I truly believe that if we're doing something together, or we're sitting at the ballpark July 30th, and the Cubs are 7 games in front in the NL Central, which is entirely possible when we break down that division. And Jed came to him and said, Tom, I know we've gone right to the hilt of our budget, but guess what? This player just became available. We've got the ammo in the system, but here's the money. I truly believe Tom would greenlight the spend if he felt he could win the World Series. My problem is when you start the 2024 season that we just concluded, and I play the tape all the time of Tom saying, I think we should win the division. Then how the H do you start a season without a closer? Right. Please don't tell me that answer is Ad Burnell's a lie, because he doesn't have the stones to be a closer. He's got good stuff. Now he's out. He's injured. You did not build a team to the hilt. And that wasn't Jed. That was ownership saying, here's what we'll let you spend. Did they spend enough? Yeah, they spent $237 million. That's more than enough. Some of that Jed has to wear. 100%. But guess what? If the Phillies did that and they said, oh, boy, we bought Sam and Matt and it didn't work out, then they go, well, here's the checkbook. You made 2 bad signings. Go buy 2 more guys. And that we get to a limit. We spend more than enough to win, but we don't spend like we want to win. That's my problem with them.
Beautiful. Well, and I believe deep down that Jed Hoyer knows how to build a great team. So do you think that he is being, I'm trying to think of a way to put this, is he being held hostage to build a great team?
Being held hostage would be telling him he's got a White Sox level payroll.
Okay.
Like Rick Hahn was trying to thread the needle all the time. Then they kneecap him and tell him he's got to hire Tony La Russa.
Right.
Like, that's being held hostage. Look, when you are at $237 million and there's no one close to you in your division, some of it he would tell you he has to wear. He does.
Right.
I mean, Tucker Barnhart on a 2-year deal, Trey Mancini on a 2-year deal. Those are bad signings, man. They just are.
Smiley.
Look, I think they have a really good farm system. I think he's built a really healthy team. They have got to figure this back end of the pen out, and they've got to get a top-level starter. And then Matt Shaw's tearing up winter ball. At some point, you have to have the temerity to go, guess what? I'm playing that kid. I'm bringing him up, and if he looks good at spring training, I'm not going to worry that I'm keeping him down there till May 1st because I don't want service time. Just go freaking win.
Right.
All right. So yeah, I agree with all that. I really do think it's both. I think Cap said it perfectly. I think Jed missed on some things, but in a different situation, he wouldn't be to use Matt's term, held hostage for his missing. It'd be like, hey, you missed on that, so let's fix it and give more money. So it's, his margin for error is smaller than it probably should be in a bigger market. My follow-up here, Cap, is that on this show, I get a lot of heat because I have an old school mentality with things. And one thing that I was a huge, and I still am a huge Craig Counsell fan. When they got him, I truly thought that was the missing piece. I respect the work that David Ross did. I just did not think he was a very good in-game manager. And I thought the Cubs were really upgrading. And then now spending a full season with Craig, I just found myself frustrated a lot at things that guys like Boog Shambi don't think matter, which was the lack of emotion, the lack of, hey, Suzuki gets called out on strike 3, 6 inches off the plate 5 times a week. Can you just get up once out of the dugout and defend your player? Defend your player. And people say, well, oh, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does. First of all, it sends a message to your whole team that you're not going to accept that. And secondly, I don't care how many tapes you send into the league. Umpires are human beings too. They're going to say, all right, we got to start fixing that a little bit. And then the same stuff after every game. Hey, we didn't hit enough. And it's like, this guy's got $40 million. He's got a 5-year, $40 million deal. Yeah. I just wanted a little bit more on the personality side. Is that wrong?
No, because I'm right there with you. Now, again, who I was a college coach, I would be the guy that would come in and flip over the table or have a player. I can remember a player 5 a.m, making him run in the wrestling room with the heat turn up to 110. And that's old school, probably stupid. But I agree with you. There were times, I remember Patrick Wisdom, not a great player, but he struck out on a pitch literally like a foot outside in a key situation. And I'm like, would you get out of the dugout, please? Just go out there and confront an umpire. And if you get kicked out, you get kicked out. But guess what? Not only do you send a message to your players, they may not need it, but you shoot some adrenaline through the fan base that is kind of like, oh, here we go again. They're like, that's our guy. It's optics. But I think at time optics matter.
Yeah, and it's like this season, the 24th season, maybe the Cubs would have been a few games better. It wasn't a very exciting club, okay? It wasn't very fun to watch.
It was a boring club.
I didn't come home every day and go, oh my gosh, I gotta get haps up. It doesn't do anything for me. And part of that was Counsell. It's just, hey, next day. And I think it was right around Memorial Day, Matt and I were doing a show, and it was after, if you remember, it was that weekend in St. Louis where they pushed back Imanaga, and then they had the rain out. And they lost 2 games. They lost the 2 games in St. Louis. I know your disdain for the Cardinals. And I just said to Matt, I go, it just doesn't feel like there's enough urgency in here. It just feels like they're going through the motions. And it wasn't until Steele just lost it in Milwaukee, rightfully so, where I was like, hey, these guys actually are feeling something. Yeah. And I know that's not why they didn't make the playoffs. But when you have a team that was just stuck in the mud like they were for 2 months, they're not as smart as they think they are sometimes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, the amazing thing about this team is that they have a solid foundation. No doubt about it. 83 wins, good place to build from. But did you guys watch the newest Netflix doc? It's 3 parts called The Comeback. It's the Red Sox down.
I did a whole show on it.
Okay, my wife and I, we have a house up in Wisconsin. I said, she loves baseball. We met at Wrigley. She's like, put that on. We watched the first episode. We eat dinner. We watched the second episode, and now it's Saturday night. It's been a long week. We're both tired, but the show is so good, and it's 11 at night now. And she said, we are not going to bed. I got to see the 3rd episode. And now we're locked in. And so I'm watching Kevin Millar don't let us win the first one.
Yep.
And don't let us win the second one. And so I was on the phone with Theo. I called Theo. I said, dude, I just got done watching this amazing documentary that you and Jed are all over. Can you explain to me why you got Kevin Millar? He said, was he the best player? He goes, I had to go steal him back from Japan. He said, was he the best player? No, but I needed personality. He said, because if you have 25 guys and all of them are as vanilla as they come, the pressure gets ramped up. You need a pressure release. He said, and that guy would be shaving guys' heads like you saw in the doc, or whatever it was, insanity, taking a shot of Jack Daniels before they take the field in the freaking ALCS. He said, and all of a sudden then, Pedro loosens up. He's a great pitcher, and now he's talking trash. And then Big Papi loosens up. He said, and all of a sudden you got a collection of characters, and it takes on a life of its own. The Cubs need somebody like that. I'm not telling you go get Kevin Millar at age 50, but there's somebody out there that you can get in here that has a little bit of personality, because right now, that's the most boring-ass team I've watched in a long time.
And we said the exact same thing on the show. And even in that doc, like Theo and Jed himself talks about, hey, when Veritek and A-Rod got in that fight, we needed that spark. We needed that.
Right.
And now it's
Jed's in it a lot.
Yeah, hey,
Jed's in it, and I love Jed. Jed's going to be on our pod, on our Recap YouTube channel. He's coming into our studio. I truly think he's one of the nicest, best guys I've dealt with. And I think he's pretty good at his job. But he's got to thread the needle, because while they're going to give him a lot of money to build a good team, if he makes a mistake, I don't think they go, well, just take the checkbook out of the drawer and go get what you need.
Exactly.
Unless you're in it late July. You got to get to late July.
I want to ask you about Craig Counsell, because that was such a big move a little over a year ago. And, you know, in terms of personality or optics and the baseball part, I did think he was pretty up and down, and perhaps he was in a learning phase. We didn't learn a lot, you know, in his interactions with reporters. In fact, the one or two times he was challenged, including by Jesse Cap, he clapped back at him, and that's become that somewhat famous drop of
right. We play it all the time. That's a bad take.
So do we. I'll play it in a second. What is Counsell's role in all of this in terms of this day and age of baseball? Do you think that he's the right dude?
Yeah, I think he's a really good strategist of the game. I really do.
Bad take.
And I liked when he came out at the end of the year. Why he waited to the end, I don't know. You got to start thinking about building 90-win teams around here, and then you go from there. Yeah, I completely agree. I wish you'd have said that like in June when the team is flat, not hitting. But I also think, and you got to be yourself, because I would overturn a table or yell at an official. I remember a game getting stopped. I'm 21 or 22 years old coaching Division I, and I remember the official, a good friend of mine who just died a couple days ago. He's coming across half court. I'm like, would you get the effing game? And I'm yelling at him, and he stops the game and screaming at me. I'm not going to take it from this little blankety blank. Like, I want a little of that. Go out there and confront Hunter Wendelstedt or whoever it is, Mark Wegner. Get in their face and get kicked out. I need some of that.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I could just leave the show, Matt, and be like, you're doing it with me.
Yeah, it's the same show. So, Cap, we mentioned already the Cubs have a lot of good players. Do you believe to get to this next level as a team, they need a great player, or is there another path in mind that you have?
I don't subscribe to the theory that you got to go buy a superstar to win. I don't, because I think you can organically become a really good player. But I also think you've got to have guys that have been there, done that you go, man, when they hand the ball to that guy in the ninth inning, it may not get done every day, but he's coming right back the next day. The moment is not too big for him. I remember the Brewers had some closer, this is years ago, and their general manager at the time was Doug Melvin, the former Rangers GM. Yeah. Well, Doug Melvin, while he was the Brewers general manager, was living in Chicago most of the time. He had a condo in downtown Chicago near Greektown. And I remember running into him one day and I'm like, Doug? you guys aren't playing here. What are you doing? He goes, oh, my wife and I live a lot of the time in Chicago. He said, I'm on the road all the time, so she likes Chicago better than Milwaukee, blah, blah, blah. I said, boy, trade us your closer. He's really good. He was off to an amazing start. And he said, and they weren't a good team. And he said, let me just teach you something about the game, young man. What's that? He said, it's real easy to have 22 saves in the first 2 months when you're playing in front of nobody in games that don't really matter. What are you going to do when we drop you in at 4:30 on a Friday with 42,000 at Wrigley and the games actually matter? Are you going to, as he said, whiz down your leg, or are you going to find a way to get the job done?
Yeah.
He said, that's a big difference. Well, guess what? I think they've got to go out and get a couple of hard asses. Lou Piniella, when he took the job, I said to him, are you aware of what you're getting yourself into here? He goes, oh, please. I was with the Yankees as a player, GM, and manager. Can't be any different. I run into him at Ron Santos' charity golf outing up in Long Grove, and he comes out of the bathroom, and I'm standing there. He's like, I owe you one. What's that? You're right. This place is insane here. He goes, you lose the first 2 of the season, they want you to blow it up. You win the first 2, they think you're going to the World Series. This fan base is insane. He said, you guys all want to like your athletes. Ooh, he's a nice guy. He signs autographs. He's cuddly. He goes, get me 9 SOBs who are just hard asses. But guess what? All they want to do is win. That's what you need. We need a couple of those.
That's great. I think didn't Lou Piniella play for like Billy Martin, who was like
the
notorious argue with umps and whatever. So
here's my cap /
I agree.
Sam.
That's great stuff.
Question to go back and forth on.
Mm-hmm.
We see what the Bears are up to right now. The game this Thursday, it's going to be over before I even get out of my pajamas. Okay.
Yep.
The Bulls are stuck. The Hawks are rebuilding. White Sox are terrible. Is it a reach to say that the Cubs are the most relevant team in this city? That's part one. And part two, is there a path for them to take that top spot from the Bears as they continue to dwindle?
You go ahead.
Okay, I don't believe that this will ever not be a Bears town. When the Cubs won after 108 years, that was an aberration. 108 years of insanity, and they finally won. It was huge. But it is a Bears town first and foremost, and I think it always will be. I think Caleb Williams is going to go down as a superstar in this league. I really, truly believe. I've been saying that since they were pondering whether they should take him. I called it chasing greatness. But I do think the best team right now in Chicago is the Chicago Cubs. The White Sox, stop yourself. They're a joke. The Blackhawks, worst team in hockey. The Bulls, don't know they need to rebuild, which is part of the problem because they got the settlers that run the thing, and they're horrible, and they haven't begun the rebuild yet. So you take all that away, you got the Bears, they need a coaching change. And then I think they could take the next step if they're willing to go get the right guy, fix their offensive. With Caleb and Roma Dunze and DJ, they got every chance. With Swift, they just got to fix their O-line, get a couple of defensive pieces. They're pretty good. I think the Cubs are going to win the division in 25. I really believe that. The Reds aren't spending. The Pirates will never spend. The Cardinals are going backwards. They're not spending. And the Brewers, they don't have the ability to spend, but they're very well run. There is no reason the Chicago Cubs do not win the division.
I think the Bears are such a laughing stock because everybody but the McCaskey family knew what they needed to do before the season, which was not bring back the head coach. And I think that, like Cap said, I really believe in the quarterback. And I believe in a lot of their players. And when the Bears are just even remotely relevant, they own the town. If they're 3-14, nobody, then it's the Cubs. But I really think that if they can hire the right coach and then just work on both sides of the ball, the interior line on offense and defense, they're really close. And so if the Bears are really close, it's always going to be a Bears town. Mm-hmm. But the irony of this is that we were on Ricketts earlier, and I just think he is such a far better owner despite his limitations than the McCaskeys. I am one of those people that do believe that the Bears are never going to succeed until that changes. There was rumors out there Waddle was talking about it maybe a week or two ago about how and he wouldn't have come here anyway, but they didn't want to go after Harbaugh because he's got a big personality, and the McCaskies don't like. If you're running your team like that is absurd. That guy went into LA. No, you want to talk about a city nobody cares about football? Go to LA with the Chargers, and they're playing tonight and are going for their 8th victory. And they like Eberflus because he's a nice guy and he knows his things. And so I don't believe that they're going to have success. And I do think the Cubs are set up for success. The frustrating part with the Cubs is it's just like, I wake up on a random early November day and it's public news. We're out on Juan Soto, the best 25, 26-year-old free agent, since God knows when. And so that's it. But I agree. I think the answer is it's always going to be a Bears town, but the Cubs are the better team right now. They're better set up. But if the Bears get a head football coach like a Ben Johnson or a Mike Vrabel, they could shoot up to 10 wins next year easily, and then this place will be going crazy.
Yeah, it would go insane. But if you go back through the Bears' history, Jerry Angelo and Ted Phillips, the former president, get on a plane. They go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they're at Nick Saban's house. He's the LSU coach. Mm-hmm. And they make him whatever they deem to be a good financial offer. And Nick just looks at me. He's like, look, I want to coach in the NFL. And he did take the Dolphins job shortly thereafter.
And it didn't go well.
Right. He said, I want to coach in the NFL. Are you guys not aware I just got a new contract from LSU? You've offered me less than I make here. Really? They had no idea. That's just not doing your homework. I mean, Come on now. What are we doing? They leave. They call him back and said, all right, we'll come up. He's like, you guys are still light. Now I'm out. And then he takes the Dolphins job. Then they have 2 guys, the final 2, both at Hallis Hall. It's Bruce Arians. It's Mark Trestman. And guess what? They bring in Mark Trestman. Yep. Oh, my God. Can we be any worse? Then you have Ryan Pace. You hire him as the GM. Well, you're a young guy. We're going to get you an older coach. He's
you love the Fox bits. Great.
He's like, I'm hiring Dan Quinn. No, we want you to hire John Fox. Well, Dan Quinn takes Atlanta to a Super Bowl. Now he's doing good work in Washington. He's a great defensive mind and a good dude. And then they have Eberflus and Dan Quinn in, and they hire Eberflus. It doesn't end, and that's unfortunate. For the Cubs, I agree with you. Ricketts, it's not a tall task to be the best owner in this town. Mm-hmm. It's not.
No.
I mean, just look at the Bulls and White Sox, enough said. Look at the Blackhawks, enough said. And then you look at what the Cubs have and the Bears. The Bears are a train wreck up top, a train wreck. The ownership group, George has been in charge since 2012. He's got exactly 0 playoff wins. 0. And then you have the Cubs. They've won a World Series. They've done an amazing job rebuilding Wrigley. All of that is true. I just want them to prioritize winning more than they do.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's like the Cubs. The Cubs are the best situation with a lower. The Bears haven't won a playoff game since I could legally drive a car, and the wow. the Bulls basketball is my first love, and I have not watched a Bulls game this season. So there's that. And no, you're right. The Cubs, but just because the Cubs are the best situation, they should still be shooting for higher, and that's the point, Matt.
Cap, thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure.
I had a great time. You've got my number. Don't lose it. Let me know.
Honor. Really, really appreciate you coming on. It was
you guys do great work. I listen, believe me. And when I'm listening on Sirius XM, driving up to Wisconsin, the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Cubs. Yeah. Channel 183. Get the Cubs.
Get that get that clip, Matt. Get that clip.
I'll get that clip. Cap, thank you so much.
You guys too. Have a great rest of your night, okay?
Sounds good. You too.
We'll be back right after this. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Welcome back to Ibotta to the show. In this holiday season, Ibotta is making your Thanksgiving easier with cash back and everything you need to make your perfect holiday meal. You could get the turkey and your favorite sides for free. This month, Ibotta is giving new users 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipts. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can get everything you need for the holidays. You can also earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and much more. Download the Ibotta app now and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast starting November 1st. Just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. We're also brought to you by Game Time, whether it's a Cubs game, comedy show, or a concert. I love going to live events. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is so simple. Plus, it's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
It's game time.
We're back here on Locked On Cubs. And yeah, I was able to get in touch with Cap around this time last week. Actually, I think it was more like Wednesday last week. And able to schedule something with him. And Sam, I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for doing that. As I said on, when he was on there, he's had a large part in my. It's not how I view sports, but feeling comfortable expressing it like that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel. And look, I don't agree with everything he says. I'm sure he does not going to agree with everything I say. But It's the idea of just like, hey, like this is my instant reaction, and he's been doing it for so long on so many different platforms. I mean, his post game stuff. I watch when the Cubs play. I watch the game. Course, I do our show, and then I watch the recap.
Right.
Because it's just he does such a nice job, expressing how we all feel about the games, and so that's what we try and do here. And that was an amazing interview, and I'm glad I was very surprised. I saw it right in the beginning there, and
Well, two of my favorite parts was actually the very beginning and very end. When he promoted our show at the end. But at the very beginning, he said, "Hey, Sam's one of the only 3 people I actually read tweets for."
Yeah, that was very cool. Very, very cool. And, like I said, just a top level guy, and the type of guy that when you get in this industry, which we're in, you're shooting for that stuff.
We wrap up the show right after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Look, there's a lot of negativity going on in the sports world right now, Matt, but I'd like to give a shout out to Brett Bielema and the Illinois football team. They're an 8-3 ball club with a dramatic win against Rutgers. And speaking of our program, this Saturday at Wrigley Field, they will play the Northwestern Wildcats and shoot for their first 9-win season since the Rose Bowl year with Mendenhall and Juice Williams. And they are a 9-point favorite right now in that football game. And, they should win. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bet if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Matt, never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League.
And I think I like this video presentation better. I mean, I love our graphics, but
It's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much in my face.
Got it. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes.
It's dark. It's 3:02.
We'll give you all things Cubs. Yeah, it's been like nighttime all day.
I haven't seen the sun since 2011.
Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. Wow, what an episode. We'll be back on Wednesday. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
One of the other podcasts.